So from 6 until this very day, you have played
Yes.
softball. A
Yes.
lot of people burn out on things. We like to talk about things that happen honestly on this show. What caused you not to burn out? Or were there periods where you thought, you know what, this isn't for me, and you overcame those?
So that's a great question. And I did have a really hard period in my softball career where I did want to quit. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was around the age of 16 and I was playing for a 14U team, but I had to bump up to the next age group. And I didn't like the 16U coach, so my parents tried to bump me straight to the 18U, which I
Okay.
was playing with girls that were juniors and seniors in high school, and I was just a rising freshman. I was super young at the time, and I think I was just going through so much stuff. The coach was super strict, which I've played for before. It wasn't anything new to me. Um, but it was just all in my head. I thought if I failed, people were going to view me in different ways, and it was just all going to come down on me. And I just felt like everyone was up here, and I just didn't. I told my parents, I was like, I'm quitting. I don't want to do this anymore. And they had told me, if you quit, you will regret it. You will regret it for the rest of your life. And I always just like kind of had that thought in the back of my head. And this is going to sound crazy, but how I overcame this is my family actually adopted a dog, and his name was Chief, and he was an English bulldog. And I want to be a vet when I grow up, so I'm super attached to animals.
Okay.
And they adopted him, and I just felt like he saw something in me that nobody could see. I felt
Hmm.
like he just believed in me. He was just like a super companion to me. So we got him registered as the ESA dog, and he went to every tournament, every practice. And whenever I felt like I was in this bubble of kind of fear, I would look over and I would see him, and I'd be like, Chief doesn't care what I do right here. He's still going to love me no matter what.
Wow. That is a first. I have not heard of an emotional support animal helping somebody to overcome. But again, that's why we have the show. And that just shows that there's so many different ways to overcome obstacles, overcome challenges. But I want to go back to the idea of playing up. So this is something that a lot of young athletes do. A lot of parents encourage their young athletes to do, regardless of the sport, softball, lacrosse, football, basketball, whatever. Always talking about playing up. Was there a benefit to playing up?
I believe that if you are, the hardest thing for me obviously was mentally to do it. I had all the skills to be where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I never doubt that. I was just not strong enough mentally at the time to step up that big of a step. But I think it is always like when you talk about moving up in ages, I always was one to like, I'm going to guest play with these older teams to try and gain more talent or get things from these older players that younger players don't have. My parents were always one that pushed me that like, when you do guest play, you're going to guest play with these teams that are older than you and just push people. I think there is a really good benefit to just learning more aspects about the sport in that way.
So before we go any further, we got to explain to the listeners what is guest play because a lot of people aren't familiar with that term.
So guest playing is where you are you're with your normal team, and then someone may come to you on a weekend that your normal team is not playing and be like, hey, I need a player to play because one of their players got sick or is injured, and they just need someone to come play on their team for one weekend. And so you will just go play with that one other team. You don't know anyone on the team normally. Sometimes you may know a few people, but just going over and playing with that team for that weekend.
Okay. Is that a common thing in softball?
Yes.
Because coming from a football and a basketball background, that is like you tackling somebody. That'll get you kicked off the team.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They don't really, yeah, I'm just going to go play with this team for a weekend and I'll be back with you guys. So guest play is something that's commonly accepted in softball ranks.
Yes. And some coaches are very against it, but there's a lot of coaches that see the good in it. You're going to go play. You're playing an extra weekend that we aren't. You're going to get better. You're seeing live pitching. You're getting reps in. So a lot of coaches are like, fine, go do that and get better.
Okay. What about the idea of rest or overdoing it at a young age? How many weekends were you playing youth softball per year?
Oh boy. You probably played, I mean, every other weekend, if not every weekend during the summer.
Okay.
And then in the fall, you played a little bit less, but the summer was like your heavy season of softball. And then you have the winter, or then you have like a shorter fall season, then you have the winter completely off. And then for spring, you play high school softball
Okay.
normally. But it's all year round, and that's just where some people struggle because they don't love the sport enough to
Uh-huh.
want to continue to do it all the time. They want to go to birthday parties or they want to go hang out with friends or do whatever, but you just have to be committed that this is what I want to do because I do love this sport so much.
Okay. That makes sense. Commitment is going to be necessary for success anywhere you go.